So I'm Jackie Overstreet. You guys know this is Jeff Cack, and I'll tell you a little bit of cool stuff about Jeff. So he was licensed in 2020. Is that right?
Yep.
Right? Okay. I did math, so I'm making sure. Part of a 3-member team, which is the Roth Real Estate Group. This year is your best year. 21 units closed, 9 in escrow. So that's going to be 16 million so far this year.
If the 9 close.
If the 9 close.
So pending, closed and pending.
But there's still a lot more year left. So
correct. Yep.
We're going to see more out of
Jeff.
Jeff.
Still got big goals to fill. So.
All right. It's okay, Mary. It's okay. You could leave it.
They know what I look like.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Sure. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll get started here. Okay, Jeff.
All right.
So the first question I always like to ask is, what did you do before you were in real estate?
So I worked in retail at a company called Salvatore Ferragamo. It's like a high-end luxury Italian store. So out in Cabazon outlets, I started as a sales associate, worked my way up, supervisor, and then ultimately was at assistant manager position when I left there.
Okay.
And that was, I think, in 2020 is when I left.
Is that pretty much all your experience was before?
I did recruiting for like a year, which hated it, but that was where I got a lot of my phone skills, I would say.
Yeah.
Yep. So calling like on Indeed and whatnot.
Okay.
And that was about a year. And then prior to that was another retail company with Zegna.
Okay.
Another Italian brand. So.
Okay. So you have sales.
Have quite a bit of sales, yeah.
But like more so, I feel like it's people skills.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? And like that, that's what's hard for most people is just literally just having conversations with people.
Yeah.
So what made you want to get into real estate?
So I actually when I was at Ferragamo, I had a manager that came in. She was probably only there for about 6 months before I left, but she pushed me. She was literally like, Jeff, what are you doing here? You know, like you have so much potential. Like, you know, what's your end goal, right? And that really kind of woke me up to. It wasn't like I was ashamed working retail, but I knew I had more. Like I wasn't proud of it per se. I just when I would tell my friends like what I do, I was like, oh, you know, I just work retail kind of thing. Like that was my answer to a lot of the questions, you know. So ultimately, I knew I wanted to do more with my life. I always had, you know, I was always intrigued by real estate. Like I love looking at beautiful homes. I mean, who doesn't, right? I think that's the fun of being a buyer's agent. You get to see all these beautiful homes. And I also felt like it was something that I can make a difference in people's lives. So I felt like it was cool to be able to, you know, be a part of something so big and to contribute and to, you know, facilitate that experience and make it a memorable one.
So what person kind of made you gravitate towards it? Because I feel like real estate, you're in retail, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone's like, you're cut out for something better.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, real estate. What person made you think that's what I want to do?
To be honest, my grandfather was in real estate. And so I always saw him as like my mentor. I mean, still to this day, he's been passed over 10 years now. And we still always talk about my grandpa. And he was in real estate. He bought and sold. I mean, he was actually an agent, but he did a lot of buying and selling. He would buy land and just sit on it. And he did very well. So I saw that it was a good career choice for him. You know, he was successful. So I also like the flexibility of it, especially now, like with having kids, which I was always trying to be forward thinking. So I would say that was kind of a big push. And then also I had my beautiful wife, Danny, that was very supportive of that. And she helped push me to make that step. Yeah. So. Come on up here, babe. No, I'm just kidding.
Let's turn the camera. That's amazing. I feel like it really helps when we know somebody that's a family member, a friend, something like that, who we kind of have seen take those steps.
Yeah.
So let me ask you then, what was your first step in?
So for me, it was during crazy COVID times, right? It was 2020. So with my current job, we pivoted. Everything was online. Luckily I was in the management position, so I still kept my job. So it was really just, I was like, you know what, in order to be successful, I knew that I had to go all in. Like I was in a very fortunate position that my wife was still working as well. So I was able to just quit my job, full-time job that I was at for 6 years. You know, I was like, I really feel like in this industry, if you're halfway in, halfway out, you're not going to be, I mean, you can be successful, but it's very difficult.
Right.
So I knew, I was like, you know what, let's give this a real shot. I had savings set aside, you know, so I was also fortunate that I was able to save and have somewhat of, you know, a couple months of expenses to fall back on if I if I didn't sell any real estate. So, but yeah, I decided to just go all in and do it full time.
Okay.
And then I was seeking out like where to start, right? Because it's always like, well, where do I go? What brokerage? Like I interviewed with all the brokerage firms, like Berkshire. Yeah, I don't know if I did EXP, but all of the ones around here, and ultimately landed with Teresa. And then I saw Miss Crystal Roth on Yelp. I found her actually on Yelp.
Okay.
Go figure, right?
Okay.
From all of her reviews, and I was like, oh, this looks like a good team. Like, let's see if I could get in with the team. So at first she didn't. At first she was very. She's like, yeah, I'm not really hiring, but we'll see. And I was very persistent, I would say, with my follow up. Yeah, I was like, give me a shot, like interview me, like let's, see if this could work. And so she took a chance with me. I joined her team before I even got licensed, which was pretty cool. Oh. I was like, I'm gonna get my license in September. So, yeah, that's kind of where I started with Keller.
Okay, so you knew what you wanted to do. Yeah. So it sounds like you're extremely driven, and you knew has to work. So, you found Crystal. Crystal eventually let you be on the team.
I talked to her into
you wore Crystal down. And
that follow-up game, I'm telling you.
I mean, yes. That's I mean, I feel like that's a good hire right there.
There's a testimony to following up.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, yeah.
So how did your first year go?
So I got my license officially in September, and from September to December, I didn't close any deals. Like I was like, man, this is a lot harder than I thought. I thought I would be able to get in and like at least get one under my belt. But I was making the calls, I was calling my center of influence, like I was doing all the things. It just, I think, took time for me to be recognized as a real estate agent.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times people are like, oh, he's got his license. Like, okay, I know 3 other people that also have their license. So. But I finally closed my first deal in January. It was a good friend. It was actually Danny's best friend that gave me the shot and closed my first deal. I feel like once you get that under your belt, it's like, okay, like I can do this, That gives you a little bit of momentum. So, but yeah, it took me 3 months to get my first deal closed.
I feel like that's really good. Probably to you.
Okay, it felt like a long
probably
time.
To you. You're like, ugh. But I like to talk to you, and I was excited to do this interview because I feel like you're in the industry. Like the beginning is not that far back for you. You can kind of look back and really remember.
Yeah.
And I feel like those first couple of months, you're still like learning a lot too. What to say to people, what you're gonna do when you get those deals and stuff. So that's what I wanted to say. So the first thing that worked for you was friends or family.
Friends and family.
Right?
Yep.
That's what we tell everybody. Farm that. But then what did you start doing as far as building leads that you felt like, okay, this is working for me?
Yeah, so Crystal, before I got any leads from the team, I had to close 3 deals. Like I had to generate my own. Yeah, and I had to get 5-star review. Like it wasn't just close the deal; it was also get those reviews. So, so yeah, I was doing a lot of circle dialing. Luckily, I did have the listings. So I got on I think it was Mojo Dialer. I think I just started dialing for dollars. And just building my database. Like still to this day, I have people in my database that was, that first couple months where I was like hitting the phones hard. Like, would I stumble? Absolutely. But I made the calls. Like I was like, I got to do this. I literally like burned the boats, right? Like that's the analogy. It's like, if you want to take the island, burn the boats. And that's kind of what I did. I was like, well, this is my only income. So I got to make this work.
I want to do something if you don't mind. Okay. It wasn't in our, I didn't warn you. Okay. But we did this with Joseph, and I thought it was really helpful, and I really liked it, especially because, like I said, the beginning is not that far away from you. So I kind of want to talk about, I want to do a little bit of a role play about what one of your first conversations was when you're doing a circle dial.
Oh, geez, role play.
If that's okay. Like we do like super quick, right?
Let's do it.
Okay. So, so you have a listing that's already, so Crystal has a listing, and you're just prospecting like the neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
So, so I'll be the person.
Okay, I'll be calling you.
Okay. So ring, ring, ring. Hello?
Hey, Jackie, how's it going? This is Jeff with Keller Williams. How you doing today?
Hey, Jeff, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for taking my call. Do you have a quick second?
Kind of busy. I mean, is it going to take a long time?
I'll be very quick. Yeah, I just wanted to let you know I'm actually calling all the neighbors, letting you know we just opened escrow on a property right down the street from you on 123 Main Street. Just wanted to let you know we're in at 650. Can you believe that?
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, yeah, I saw that one. It's like mine, but not as updated as mine.
Yeah, so I mean, essentially you got a lot of equity built, and I see that you've lived there for over 6 years now.
Oh, you can see that. Yeah, I've been about 6 years.
Yeah, yeah. Have you ever thought of if you were to move, where would you go?
I don't know. We kind of want to move out of state.
Oh, okay, where would you go? What state?
We're thinking Arizona.
Oh, Arizona is beautiful out there. Yeah, my brother actually lives there. He's been over there 10 years now and loves it.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've been just kind of thinking about it. Not for a while though, not till the kids graduate. But
Oh, okay. When would that be?
my oldest is out, and my youngest graduates in 4 years.
In 4 years. Okay, so 4 years potentially moving to Arizona. Do you guys have friends, family out there? What draws you out to Arizona?
Yeah, lots of family out there.
Family. Okay. Very
Yeah,
good.
and taxes are crazy here. So
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Where does your kids go to school?
here in Redlands.
Oh, okay. Very nice. Yeah. Well, Jackie, again, I don't want to take up too much of your time, just looking to bring value. Also, just something that we love to do here at the Roth Real Estate Group. Should you ever need anything at all, we have great vendors, we have electricians, roofers, really anything that you would need. We'd love to be a great source of value and, be able to provide that for you. If you ever need anything, we'd love to be here to help you.
Oh, that's cool. Well, I actually need a new roof pretty soon, so
Perfect.
maybe
Yeah,
I'll
I got
call you
a
guys back.
great roofer. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. All right,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
What's a good email for you, Jackie? Before I let you go, I could send that roofer's information over to you.
He said no.
I know. I was gonna say, okay, bye.
That's how it usually happens. Click.
Yeah,
No, I'm just
you're
kidding.
like, dang it, yeah. 456@gmail.com.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll go ahead and shoot my contact info over for you. That way you have it for reference as well as that roofer.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a good
Thank
day.
you, Jackie. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Thanks,
And
Jeff.
then what I would do, like obviously I have their address, right? So when I was making those calls, I would usually work from like 8 to like later in the afternoon, and then I would, before I like called it a day, I would put them into my command, and then I would send them a letter. And I think that was the key. I would literally just say, "So great talking to you. Like I appreciate your time." And sometimes I'd make it personal if I had a good conversation with them, but most of the times it was just like a generic letter like that. But I feel like that was another touch point, right? Like they actually get to know, oh, I remember talking to this guy, Jeff, Like I've gotten a couple of my first deals came from that.
I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Do you send like a special kind of stationery? Is it a printout letter? What do you?
Just a simple print and
So you print it, put it in, that's it.
yeah.
Handwritten everything, or do you print out?
I just signed it. That was
Okay.
it. Yeah. I didn't have time to handwrite everything, to be honest.
Okay.
I was just like trying to get volume.
What about the
to get
envelope?
to people.
How about your envelope? Print it out too?
Nothing special. No.
Okay.
Oh, I would write those.
Handwrite
I would
the-
handwrite the envelope.
Okay,
Yeah,
because I feel like for me, I'll say my handwritten envelopes with a stamp on it,
Get open.
those get opened.
Yeah.
People
I
call
would
me-
handwrite the envelope.
Yeah.
That was what I would do. Yeah.
And they'll be like, sorry, I'm not selling my house. They'll call me.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
thank you for calling me and telling me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you did that and made a noticeable difference in your business. So when did you start seeing that noticeable difference in the business? When you're consistently doing this?
I mean, I think just over time it started to build momentum, and then I think also like just still reaching out to center of influence, like they also saw that, oh, Jeff's actually selling real estate, so I feel like that also made a difference. So I would just say over time it started compounding and eventually led to
Where you are?
Yeah.
For your sphere, what did you do to stay in front of them and kind of show them what you were doing?
I would really just call them every quarter.
Oh, you
Kind of
call.
what I would do. Yeah, I would call them. Sometimes, I mean, just depending too, because you can kind of get a feel for it, right? So if you like just talk to them and they're like, maybe I'll text them, like, hey, we had a great combo with you, last month, but just to not be like a pest
Yeah,
to them, you
yeah.
know what I mean? Sometimes they're like, oh, Jeff's calling again. Like, I don't want that, I want to try to bring value as well. So, but I would even try to be like, hey, let's go grab a coffee or lunch, even if they never grabbed a coffee or lunch with me, but it was still like another touch point to be like, oh, Jeff's making an effort to want to get to know me,
So, I mean, because I feel like that's hard for us too. We want to show our sphere that look how well we're doing. We're doing it. We're we're real estate agents. So that's how you do it. Just calls, no emails, nothing else. Social media.
I need to do more social. Yeah, that's all.
I was like,
I need to do it. My social is a repost, Crystal. Repost.
or sometimes, yeah.
Right.
Sometimes
I'm
our
getting better.
parents-
I'm getting better. Yeah.
Mom and dad are the ones getting on the phone. Did you hear Jeff's killing it?
I'm just like more of a phone guy. Like I'm just gonna, just give you a call.
So you like to call people. My husband's like that too. I do not want to call people. Okay, so let me ask this then. In the beginning, I know, especially with a team, you probably geared more towards buyers.
Very buyer heavy, yes.
Okay, so
I
where
would
are you
actually
at?
get listings from the calls, but then I would refer it to Crystal.
Okay.
Like what was great is having a team and having that expertise, with me is like I would set the appointment, but then we would both show up. And like I would preface like, hey, I'm gonna be there with my business partner Crystal, like we'll show up at this time. And she would kind of take the listing and run with it. But I'd set that appointment and then be able to have, Crystal seal the deal.
Well, I was going to ask you that. I was like, I hope they answer me this. But when you were first getting these first listings, I know you give them to Crystal, but Crystal, you would go with her and basically shadow that appointment.
Yeah, I would still be somewhat involved with it. Like I wouldn't just be like not show up, but it was more, and then she would just kind of facilitate the transaction from there.
Well, still, I feel like it's, especially because you were newer, you almost get to shadow her and just see how it's done and get comfortable with it. So
Absolutely, yeah.
So buyer heavy, you were getting listings, but kind of, just more so watching them. When would you say you guys made that switch where you're doing both?
Probably just within the last year and a half, maybe, yeah.
And then this year, would you say, you could break it down percentage-wise?
I'm probably about 50-50, I would say now, yeah. I was like, where are we at, Caitlin? Yeah, I got my people here.
I know, I should have told you. We should have asked that.
Yeah.
So where are your leads coming from these days? Are you still doing exactly what you were doing before?
So to be honest, I don't do as much cold calling now. I do a lot more just nurturing my database. Like I feel like I built quite a bit of people in there. Now it's just maintaining it and staying in front of my database. But a lot of our businesses really just come from referrals. Like I find that if you just create raging fans and they'll take good care of you, So it's I really find that I think a majority of these listings have been center of influence, of course, is still always going to be one. Past I'm starting. What's cool now is now that I've been 4 years, I'm starting to get past clients that I help buy, and they're like, "Hey Jeff, we're ready to sell." You know, so that's also been a huge contributor to these numbers for this year. But I really think the referral. I got a referral yesterday. They were just from an open house person. I literally didn't even help them. They were just a neighbor that just wanted to come see the house, and then they were like, you know what, my mom's actually going to be looking to buy. I'm like, great. So asking people who do you know that would need help with their real estate goals?
When would you ask that? So for instance, open house, you said, right? Okay.
Yeah. The open house was from the follow up. I called her a couple months later and just hey, just I know that you weren't looking to do anything. Just wanted to check in on you. Come from value, right? Is there anything I could do to help you? And then she's like, oh, actually, my mom, I didn't really even ask her. She
Right.
just kind of mentioned it.
Do you feel like you have better luck literally saying that? Who do you know that needs my help? Or do you feel like even just making those calls is
I
enough?
think, sometimes they do come organically. Sometimes you have to ask, but I try not to be super forcing that,
Yeah.
because I just feel like it was also awkward.
Yeah.
Just be like,
They're like, no one.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah. But really, don't be afraid to ask, right? You're not going to get anything if you don't ask.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's very helpful. I want to kind of dig in a little bit. So when you started your real estate journey, who was the first person that really helped you? Was it Crystal? I know you said you were.
Crystal and my wife, yeah.
Okay.
They're two big supporters.
So what did Crystal teach you? What did your mentor teach you? What core lesson did they teach you right off the bat that really stuck with you, that kind of helped you?
So right off the bat, and still to this day, Crystal's always preached come from contribution. She always said that, so just what are you doing for other people? It's the more people you help, the more value you can bring, the more it's going to come back to you.
Absolutely.
So
And that one stuck with you?
Core, yeah.
What about when the deals aren't coming? Is there something, because I feel like that happens, and that's what a mentor is there for to tell you.
Does. Yeah, just to stay focused and just know that if you are taking that action, it will come. And sometimes, Caitlin also knows, I'll literally have no deals for a while, and then I'll just open 3 a week. That was always my thing. I'd literally be no deals, and then it's boop, 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 just 3 in 1 week. And
I do that too.
so it's just funny how that happens,
Yes.
So, yeah.
Okay. So now let's talk about after, let's say, it sounds like you kind of got a quick start. So what does your day look like? How do you structure your day?
So I am a big proponent of winning the morning. Lately, I've been waking up at 4:45 every single morning. That way I could get my workout in before my kids wake up at 6:20 now. Yeah. So just getting a good workout in the morning. get my kids ready, get some. I enjoy the mornings too with my kids too. You know, it's like really to take that in before they go off to daycare because, you know, they grow up so quick. So I do that, spend some time with my kids, and then once they're out the door, I'll eat a healthy breakfast. Like I find that's so important to like fuel yourself and prepare yourself for the day, and then keeping a clean space. Like that's one of my things too that I find that really helps me. It's like after the kids leave, I literally clean the whole house and like have it. Like I find even my workspace, right? Like if you have a clear space, you got a clear mind.
Yeah.
So, and then I'm usually by the office like 8:30. I'm usually the first one in here. Oftentimes have to open the door, and really just start making the call. Oh, and my guy Tim. Actually, Tim usually beats me in. Sorry, Tim. Yeah, shout out to Tim. But yeah, just try to get, you know, obviously like keep the main thing. So get in, start making those calls. And then usually by like, I mean, if you take care of the morning, like the afternoon takes care of itself, right? So I'm still working on saying no. I find like, you know, it's so easy to be like, oh, I want to see this house at 10 o'clock. Sure. You know, I'm still working on that and trying to obviously like arrange my schedule to afternoon appointments and showings and escrow follow-ups and all that, you know, so.
I want to
Always working on that, but
I'm gonna make you.
Yeah.
So 8:30, we're in the office, right?
Yep.
And then when you sit down, what is the first thing you like to do?
So I do have kind of somewhat
Ideally,
of a routine.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I know I shouldn't, but I check my email. I just kind of see like what's there, making sure that there's nothing major.
Yeah.
But I do check the MLS. Like every morning I have an email that gets sent to me, specifically Redlands. Like I have literally all Redlands listings that get sent to me every morning that I'll look at. Just because I have a lot of buyers in Redlands. So I constantly am like, oh, this is going to fit perfect for Jackie. Like I'm going to send this to her. So that's one of my things I feel like I do a good job is with my buyers. Like I have them on the auto search in the MLS. I constantly am like looking like, because that's part of our job, right? I find that's one of the biggest things that you hear from people saying like, oh, I found the house. Like, so even if it's not the house, I still am like getting in front of them, but it's bringing value. I'm not just like, hey, have you seen anything? Like, I'm like, hey, I saw this house. I thought it would fit perfect. And they're like, oh yeah, thanks, Jeff. You know, like I've literally won people that have been working with like other agents, you know, and they're like, well, you made the effort, you know? So that's one of my things that I do before the calls is kind of just see what's on the market and understand. I feel like, you know, being an expert in the marketplace as well and knowing inventory is also very important.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So then you check the MLS. I do that too.
Yeah.
And then you see, you know, a couple that, oh, this would be this for a good person, this would be good for this person. Do you make those right away or do you put on the list?
Those are my first. I usually try to take care of my like hot leads first.
So the first reach out is to, hey, this is a good match for you.
Yeah, hot leads are always like my first touch. And then I do a really cool thing with Command where it has reminders. So I utilize that, or tasks. I guess you like create a task. So I'll go through like my task list and literally it's like I call those people next. So what's cool with that is you have a lot of control with it, right? So I can, like, depending on how our conversation goes, I'm like, oh, I gotta call this guy next week. Like this is a good lead. Or it's like, hey, you know, just check in a few months. Like, okay, I'll set it for 3 months. But then 3 months comes around, it's like, oh, I gotta call Jackie again, you know? So I utilize the reminder, the task reminder as like a follow-up. I don't do as much like smart plans as I probably should. Like my smart plan is the tasks for myself. Because I find you can gauge like based on their motivation too. Right. And I do have A lead, B lead, C lead. So I do kind of label them. And then I always call I call A leads at least, I would say like once every other week, maybe once a week-ish.
Okay.
So yeah, just kind of prioritizing where they're at in their buying or selling process.
So it sounds like what you do is you don't really focus a lot on any other kind of technology stuff. Like you're not really messing with email drip campaigns. You're not really messing with social media, anything like that. You're really just focusing on the leads that you have and nurturing them.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. I feel like a lot of us are overcomplicating stuff. So, okay, so I'm going back. Sorry. So 8:30. Yeah. We're checking mail.
Yeah.
We're checking MLS.
And reach out to my A leads.
Yeah.
Just make sure I'm in front of them.
How long?
Because too, it's like you could have a buyer that might not see this house. Like it's your job to get them into escrow. Like that's my forefront of my head. Like what am I doing today? I'm trying to get it into escrow. You know.
Right.
So
okay. So for the morning, that's what you're doing. You're just nurturing your leads.
Yep.
And then at what time do you kind of switch gears and then try to grow that, to make new connections?
So lately it's been more nurturing again. Like I haven't been doing as much cold calling as I should.
Yeah.
But I do find that my database is pretty, like there's quite a bit of people in there. So if I'm taking care, I think I have over like, I'd say at least 800 people in my database. So I'm like,
so you
that's
really don't
enough
need-
people to
Yeah.
talk to, you know, and then if you call them quarterly or even semi-annually, you know, like that's quite a bit of calls there.
Yes. Okay. So then what's your time block there? So 8:30 to what time is your nurture follow
Usually
up?
like 11:30ish, then lunch, then just depending. I mean, I do try to do showings and stuff in the afternoon, but
Yeah, that's what I say.
and
Ideally.
then follow-ups,
Yes.
yeah. And
Okay.
then nurturing escrows, like that's also, I
Yes.
try to do that in the afternoon, but I feel like some days I'm literally just nurturing escrows all day. Like that's just sometimes what happens when you
Yes.
got some, yeah.
I definitely know. Okay. So then from 11 to about what time are you like, okay, calling it a day?
Well, like depends. I mean, some days I work till I have to go get my kids at 5. Some
Okay.
days I'll, you know, take off a little early and go enjoy the day. So just depends. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I
But-
mean, I feel like you're allowed to do that if you want to.
Yeah. To be honest, sometimes I'll go get like a power nap, dude. Like get a good solid 20, 30-minute
Yeah.
power nap, dude. Wake up, feel refreshed, you know? So,
You get naps.
I know, even Danny's back there like, "Man, you know, hey,
He said sometimes. It wasn't all the time.
hey, but there's a purpose behind the naps, dude, you know? Yeah, right?
I mean, it's working. The naps are working.
Hey, I'll wake up, feel rejuvenated, ready to hit the calls, you know?
I'll edit that out of the.
Hey, I'm just saying. Hey, when you wake up at 4:45, you get tired like towards the end of the day, you know? Yeah.
People
Like,
are furious about the naps. Okay.
Larry Keller says if you win in the morning, you can do
that's
whatever.
what I'm saying.
Yes,
Yeah, dude.
exactly.
I got my 10 contacts.
You earned your nap.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so there is a goal there. That was what I was gonna ask. Are you during this time? So during your nurture time,
Yeah.
do you have a goal set in mind where you're like, I want to make this
I
many?
try to make 10 contacts, 10 people, like actual solid conversations with people about real estate. And sometimes it's 7, but I find like don't be so fixated on like hitting the 10. Like if you have 7 great conversations, then,
Yeah.
Because I think that used to be where it's like, oh, I gotta get these 10, but I find it's just like, what if you just have a really great conversation with somebody? Like, why cut it short?
Do you feel like I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah. Sometimes you get those talkers though, where you like gotta cut them off. Like,
Yeah.
hey, it's great talking to you, but
Yeah,
so-
you're like 7 it is
Yeah.
after that.
But again, like if you're having good conversations and this is gonna lead to business, or if you just get somebody that's just wants to chat with you because they don't have anyone else to chat to. Yeah.
Well, at least they want to talk to you. That's
exactly.
nice.
Yeah.
So do you think that's like a group wide goal for you guys? Is that like, was that something that you and Crystal had discussed? Like, hey, let's make it this, or
I think it's just kind of always. I mean, during bowl it's 20, right? So it's like scaling it back. So I'm like, 10 is
10
manageable.
seems
Yeah.
good.
But I think it's also being consistent, right? So if you do, 20 one day and then 0 the next 2, it's like you're not,
Right.
So I think it's the consistency of the work and making those calls is what, again, compounds over time.
So what expectations were kind of set for you when you joined the team? Am I allowed to ask that? Okay.
Expectations.
Like, what were you like? I need to
Honestly,
see
I
this
think
out
like
of you.
Crystal, she's not like very like micromanaged. She's like, if obviously if the numbers aren't
I
there,
am, but he didn't make me do that. He wanted it,
Yeah.
and he set his own. I mean, I didn't have to do a thing with him except train him on the real estate side of stuff.
Okay.
Like what
Yeah.
he didn't know. He is organized, dedicated, just like he said, consistent.
Yeah.
That didn't have to be trained into him. He wanted it, and he showed up every day without me having to be like, "Hey, where are you?" Now when he's not here, I'm like, "Hey, where are you?"
He's like
But-
taking a nap.
Yeah, right.
Now she's gonna ask.
That
Oh
is
my God.
super rare though. He is very on top of his schedule and his dedication. He tells me, we used to have coffees on Fridays, like, can't do that today, gotta make calls. I'm like, really? So yeah, he has that handled.
Okay. So for the training part, it was more so kind of your standard Crystal standard of how she wanted.
Yeah.
I want it to look like this.
Well, I think that like I love that you said standards, right? Because that's something that I always am like striving, like what is my standard?
Yes.
And lately there's this guy that I follow, Nick Barry, he's like a real fitness guy, but he literally says, set the standard, hold the standard. So it's like, what are you doing to hold that standard every day for yourself? And I'm very hard on myself, I would say. Like if I don't hit those goals, you know, I'm like, sometimes beat myself up, but I think you also have to have some grace with yourself, you know, but look at the big picture. But really just like raising your standards on like the way that you're living and are you getting better, like get 1% better every day. So,
I like that.
Yep.
I wrote that down, Nick Berry. So as far as the standard of what you want your business to look like, I mean, obviously you guys are in agreement on that, but
Yep.
is there anything like, you can maybe just a couple of like little things like for your business, for your clients, what you want things to look like for them that you can think of?
I still just think creating raging fans, like always getting those 5-star reviews. Like that's one of my biggest fears is like getting a 4-star. I think I would be devastated if I ever did.
They're like, it was fine.
Yeah, no, we don't want that. But as far as like, I think it's again just like getting better, like constantly improving and trying to continue to grow your numbers. And I think we do a good job about, even though we do a lot of volume, like we haven't let go of that experience, right? Because that's ultimately like what you're providing to your consumer, to your client. So making sure that's still at the forefront of your business.
I have a question for you guys, and I think it would be very helpful for us newbies who, if we're trying, maybe thinking about hiring an assistant, because you pretty much always had an assistant, right? Since you've started, because the team.
Cami is awesome. Yeah.
So it's really helpful because some of us, it's like, what tasks would you recommend letting the assistant handle, and so that you can do your job?
Marketing is usually, I need to do better with marketing and just like the busy work, but I'm leaning on Cami a little bit now. Like Crystal's opened that up to me pretty recently, so
Okay.
I find that I'm like slowly delegating tasks to her, but I still am like, I'll just do it, you know.
Right, like
Sometimes I'm just
TC
like
work
that.
and stuff like that.
Oh no, Caitlin is my amazing.
Oh, okay.
No, Caitlin's amazing.
He's like,
if you're not
do
using
know.
Caitlin, if you're not using Caitlin, you should.
More of like an open house, she'll print the flyers,
Okay.
create the flyer,
Yeah, for sure.
have everything ready to go. If we're going on a listing appointment, she'll create it, print it out,
Okay.
like
Yep,
the
The-
background kind of stuff.
Just like, okay, yeah. I feel like some of us are at a point where it's like, maybe we could do that, but it's like, what do you have them do at first? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So, okay, so we already talked about how you're standing in front of your desired clients, and then you don't do anything different for your sphere. So I kind of wanted to ask you, what would you tell your new self now? If you look back and talk to new Jeff, what would
Yeah.
you say?
So I wrote quite a bit of things down because I like want to touch on a lot, but I really think is like the main thing is being intentional on what you want to do, right? Like having a goal in place and how are you going to achieve that goal? And also like what are you going to give up in order to get that? I think that's a big thing that people are like, they still want to hold on to these other habits, but they want to get here. And like it just doesn't work, you know.
So can you give me like an example? What did you have to give up to
Not
kind of
naps.
push yourself
No,
forward?
just kidding.
Those are earned naps, though.
Yeah.
So
But just like scrolling on social media, right? Where it's like, oh, in between this call, like let me check Instagram, or like just things that take your time that you don't really notice. You know, it's like they're time consumers. So
I think that's a good one that you said,
yeah,
because I feel like even when I'm busy, I'm waiting for this person to call me back or text me back. So I'm like, I'll just scroll really quick.
mm-hmm.
So, but there's always something that can be done in that small amount of time.
Yeah. One thing also in the morning, like checking MLS and all that, I also go through all my text. So like I'll literally on my computer, I have an Apple. If you guys don't, it's amazing. And I could literally just text from my computer and I'll make sure like I'll literally like scroll and just make sure everybody's been touched and like everything's taken care of. So that was one thing I think too, like making sure that you're staying on top of all your conversations and not letting any like slip through. Because especially when you're getting so many texts, like sometimes it's easy to just be like, oh, I didn't get back to this person, you know?
Yeah.
And obviously it's important to make sure you're following up with everybody.
If I may share, I was going through my text messages like 2 weeks ago looking for an investor.
Mm-hmm.
I found a person that was like, hey, Jackie, I'm looking for a commercial property. That was like a year ago, where I was like, I didn't text that person back. So I did. I followed back up. I was like, hey, I was just reaching out. Or is this something you're still interested in looking for? Yeah, I am. It could be anywhere from 2 to 5 million is fine. And I'm like, Like I,
Just sitting in your
I almost did not. So even if it's been a long time,
Yeah.
and you find someone that you didn't, just say, hey, is this something that you're still interested in looking for?
Yeah.
Because I was shocked that he number one answered me back. Number two was like, yeah,
Still interested.
hey, yeah, thanks for reaching out. Yeah, still want that.
Like some days my lead gen is literally I'll just scroll to the very bottom of my text messages and start there and just literally just be like, hey, how's it going? Like just because I haven't talked to them for a long time, you know? So it's like just pushes it back up and then I'll just like literally just keep on that bottom until it's back up into the top. Like that's a quick way to lead gen and knowing that like obviously you've had conversations with them, so it's people that you know they know you
and
know?
there's clues there, so you could say, hey,
Exactly,
so and so,
yeah.
how was the this
Yep,
thing? You
yep.
know, how was
For sure,
that?
yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, so you're a driven person. What drives you?
Oh, that's a great question. Honestly, my why, right, is my family. That's like the number one thing that I just want to be a better person and just be like the best version of myself. You know, I think that's my biggest drive is like, who am I becoming? You know, and how can I improve? And be honestly like just for my son because he was my first, right? But I'm like I want to be that dad that you know he looks up to.
Right, he's proud
So
of.
that's my drive. Yeah.
I had a feeling. That was your why.
Yeah.
Okay, goals moving forward. What are your goals
For next year.
for what is it?
Next year.
Just maybe give me a 1 yearly goal and then 2 big goals that you really want to accomplish without any time put on it.
I would say next year I want to hit 40 transactions.
40.
Yeah.
Well, you're almost.
I'm at 30 this year. Hopefully, if everything closes.
Yeah.
So 40 next year, I would say.
You'll probably do 40 this year.
Yeah, probably right.
I'm like, you
I
might
can
go,
do 40, yeah.
Crystal. Put it
Yeah.
on a board.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
And then 2 big future goals for yourself.
I mean, eventually, I'd love to run my own team. Like that's a huge future goal, I would say. And then I always have like break it down on like my family, my health. Like I have different goals for different aspects of my life too. One of my big goals is on my fitness side is to be an Ironman.
Oh.
That is one of my things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, I'm doing a half Ironman in December. It'll be my second one. So, but I find that through fitness, I've developed, discipline, just really mental, like focus, like everything. Like I wouldn't be the person I am today without fitness, and like I find that's been my gateway to be able to become a better person is like through working out. Like it pushes me. It's like sometimes it's very difficult, you know, but you still push past. Like you still take that step. You still run that extra mile, you know. And I find that's been one of the biggest contributing factors to my success is through physical fitness. Yeah.
So that answers my question then. How do you take a break? How do you recharge? That's probably a big thing for you.
Oh, I love massages. I love vacations. Yeah, working out is a big one. Yeah. Hey, no shame, dude. I'll go get a massage. Right.
Okay, I like that. Okay, is there anything that you are reading, listening to? I mean, you mentioned Nick Barry. Is there anything that's kind of helping you, fueling you?
Yeah, so I got some books that I
Pushing
want
you.
that you guys should all buy all these books because they've been a huge.
Okay, I'm ready.
So I wrote them down, just make sure. John Maxwell, he has so many great books, but the one I really loved from him was The 15 Immovable Laws of Growth. That's a really great book. That's like one of my favorite books.
What's the name of it? Irremovable?
Invaluable. Sorry,
Oh,
15
Invaluable.
Invaluable Laws of Growth. John Maxwell. One for real estate related. It's called Ninja Selling. It's not the best title, but that's a really great book.
It's a
And
great.
then what's the one that you like, Crystal? That's such a great book too. Oh, Sales Velocity.
Oh, that one.
That's a really great book too. Yeah, I don't know who has that one.
No, sales velocity is not John Maxwell, but
The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That's a really good one. Stephen Covey. And just to throw it in there for like physical fitness, and then Never Finished by David Goggins. He's
I
like
love David Goggins.
Yeah. And then podcasts I'm listening to, Alex Hormozy. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him, but he's really good. And then Lewis Holmes is like another good one that has like a ton of just wide range of people on his podcast that I really like.
All right, Chef. If you want to share with us, we're almost to the end of our interview. If you want to share with us something that you think would help a new agent grow.
I think really just being like intentional on what you're doing on a daily basis. Like make sure you have those, action plan in place, like your 411, and like knowing where you want to go and how to get there. Like you can't just randomly show up, right? Like everyone that's successful, they know how they got there. So saying no to things that aren't gonna get you to that place too. I find that's one that I'm always working on. It's like there's so many distractions in this world, even in real estate, right? Like there's so many things that you could do, but you probably shouldn't. Like you should go make your calls. And I find, like me and Crystal were talking about it this morning, it's, there's everybody knows what to do to be successful in this industry. Like, you should time block, you should make your calls in the morning, it's just like being healthy, right? Like how to lose weight, that you should eat healthy, that you should work out. It's simple, but not easy. So just like, what are you doing to, make sure that you are, becoming that agent that you can be, really.
I have one more question that will be kind of a fun one. Have you ever had a client that you had to fire?
Twice.
I've never asked you.
I've had two agents or two clients
that you had to fire.
Yeah.
Do you want to role play that?
No, I do not. But it's like if you lead generate, you don't have to tolerate, right?
Yeah.
And I just knew that these people weren't gonna get it's just one client. She literally was in 4 escrows. She canceled 4 escrows on me.
Yeah, you got to fire.
After that, I was like, I'm sorry, but I just don't think we're the best fit at this time.
I mean, that's
Caitlin knows.
I'm like, which one? Because she said one name and I had.
Oh, which one? Oh, jeez.
We're on camera. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I try. Obviously, it's one thing I will say. So I'm in escrow on a property we're purchasing in Yucaipa. So going through that process, I have a lot more understanding, appreciation of just like where buyers' mindset is around the whole purchasing. So just like having that perspective of like waiting to hear back on your offer and like when are they going to respond to you. So having like more of an understanding with your client, I find that's kind of helped me to be like, a little bit more understanding of like where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just 2 clients fired.
Just 2. Yeah.
Okay. But I feel like we all have to have those conversations, and it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's like, where do you put your foot down and say like, okay, I can't. This is just taking more time away from my business. It's not helping them, obviously.
Yeah.
And maybe they're better suited for somebody else. So I wanted to ask that question. Does anybody have any questions for Jeff? Anyone?
No question.
We covered everything?
How do you cover the A, B, and C?
So A leads are just people that are hot and ready, pre-approved, like I'm out showing properties to, basically is my A leads. B's are people that have expressed that they want to get the process started and maybe not quite connected with the lender. One thing I will say on B leads, if they're like, oh yeah, like I want to try to start looking, like just say right then and there, just be like, oh great, I'm going to connect you with my lender. I'll do a group text as soon as we hang up and just like make that introduction, because I find often it's like trying to get them to the lender, like you constantly like, hey, have you talked to the lender yet? If you do the group text right away, like you're on the thread, so it's like a nice introduction to a lender and to help get that process started quicker. Even with referrals, like I will always say like, oh great, somebody, like go ahead and connect us with the group text and we'll, take it from there. That's like a big.
Do you have a C leads? Do you have any C leads?
C leads are just like, people that are, yeah. I should call my C leads more, yeah.
C leads or anybody else?
No, I would say C leads are like, they have somewhat expressed it, but they're just not in the position to buy. Or they're like, oh yeah, and like, next year. Those are my C leads, they're next year people.
Yeah.
Like they've somewhat raised their hand, but.
I was wondering if you guys have any client events that you guys hold during the year.
We do a lot. I didn't touch on that, but yes, Crystal works very hard on doing client appreciation events. We just had one of our biggest ones that we do every year is our party palooza, pool palooza. We do like a taco truck, swimming. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah. So yeah, we do a lot of like touches on our clients, client appreciations. We do bi-monthly happy hours where we'll go like a local spot right here in Redlands. November we do a pie party event, so a lot of touches on like past clients and current clients that we're working with, A leads.
Are you personally using those events to make calls too?
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
okay, yeah. for someone who likes the phone, I mean, if you have a reason to call,
Yeah.
it's good to have that.
Yeah, for sure.
I guess the question would be, you guys have a lot of clients, are you inviting your top tier clients, all your clients?
All past clients, and then usually like the A clients that we're working. Yeah, some B
Oh,
clients. Yeah, just depending. But because what's great is like if they show up, great. But if and then obviously like we'll cover the tab, if they show up. But if they don't, like it's still a touch point.
Yeah.
So just it's a reason to call people.
Which is great, because if you have like a taco truck, you're only paying for whatever somebody ordered at the truck, right?
Yeah.
So you're not like having to figure out how much food do I have to have. I think that's genius.
Yeah. We do try to get like a RSVP in advance for like some of those events just to kind of somewhat be prepared, but sometimes clients will just show up like, I'm here. And they didn't RSVP, but yeah.
You're ready for them.
Regina.
So I know how hard you work. Do you automatically schedule a day off for yourself in the beginning of your week?
Lately, recently, I've been try to do at least one day with my family on either Saturday or Sunday. Yeah. So it's tough because obviously, I mean, we all work in this industry, right? Like those are our busiest times usually, and it is tough with obviously wanting to do open houses and then showings, and so my wife is very understanding of that. And I think too, like with showings, right? Like it doesn't take all day. Like schedule it at 9 o'clock so you get it out there, get done by noon, and you're home, and then you have the rest of the day with the family. But I do try to, make sure one thing that Nick actually says, he talks about like the things that are important to you. You don't find the time, you make the time. And I find that's like obviously this is what I'm doing this for, is to provide and be with my family. So that's what I do try to find at least like one day to make sure that's the most important thing to me. So make sure I'm spending it with them.
So family time is so important, obviously, to you. And are you good at drawing the boundaries? So when you're home with your family, you are home with your family, or are you taking those calls?
So it's so hard, right? Because in our industry, like it's the time of like sometimes you gotta go send this offer, and it's like it sucks, and like obviously I'm like, I'm sorry, babe, like I gotta get this call, or I gotta do, and I feel like she's very understanding with that, just because that's just our line of work sometimes. But then I'm able to go be, on Saturday, I'm able to spend the whole day sometimes, so I make up for it, I would say.
Yeah, I was like, we should ask her. We should ask your wife.
Yeah. But in my old job, right? Like I literally worked, like I always worked weekends. Like it wasn't like I had any type of flexibility. Like I was literally at work, you know?
Yep.
So it's like, yeah, I might have to go make this call for a 30-minute phone call, but then after that, I'm home with the kids, So, but yeah, sometimes it's like I find it's always the worst timing too. Like you'll sit down at dinner and it's like, oh, getting this call. I'm like, sometimes I'll just call them right back, depending on like the situation. But it's definitely a balance of, obviously still making the wife happy and still doing real estate.
Yeah, still being present.
I'll
Yeah.
add to that. So what I noticed, one thing I love so much about my husband is he's so relatable. So even when a client does call, he may answer real quick and just say, "Oh, I'm putting the kids down to bed. Can I call you back in 20 minutes?" They
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah.
Oh, he's putting his family first. What a great person.
Yeah.
I work with that person.
Yeah, we're all humans, and like you said, like if they're not understanding of that, that might be someone that maybe you don't want to work with.
Maybe I should fire more clients.
Yeah, if they're like, no, don't put the kids to bed. You need to talk to me.
Yeah.
And even going back to the cold calling, when Jeff made a point where he said, "Oh, how old are your kids?" He's always trying to find something that's relatable to them because they see that he actually cares. He's not just trying to get to sell; he's trying to get to know you. And then when Jeff calls a quarter later, he's just saying, "Oh yeah, so they're probably getting into like their sophomore year. Are they interested in sports? Oh, my son loves to play soccer," and it's just continuing that relatability to the client.
Yeah, like take
That
good
connection.
notes. Take good notes. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then have that relatability too. Yeah.
I think write that down. Take good notes because that really is. Yeah, you want to make sure that you can follow up on those little things. People appreciate that.
Yeah.
And it's not like I feel like it's not like it's manipulative. Like you really want to know those things. You like
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
we like people, we care about them. I want to get that stuff right.
Yeah. Me
So
and Crystal were talking about it today at coffee, but it was just really talking about like making it about them and showing that you understand them. Because I find like we're so quick to be like, oh, look what I could do for you, or look at my awesome listing presentation. Like I pivoted and I'm like all just like asking questions like it's a family member, right? Like you want to get to know them, and then they're like, And then obviously it leads into that, but like making them the forefront and like, how can I help you on your real estate journey? And like, what are your real estate goals? Like, please, like and be genuinely interested. Like people can read you if you're, you know, obviously just asking the question
Right.
and then just like looking at or like pulling out your phone, you know. So yeah, be present.
Yes,
Be
I
where your
agree.
feet are, yeah.
I agree with that. I think if we just all remember, like, this is about them. They're the person that's making this big change. They're making this big journey in their lives. It's
Mhm.
about them. We're just here to help them. It would be helpful to a lot of us to just like really keep the focus on that.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Anybody else? I think that's it. We did it, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. That was awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.